Hey everyone, Forrest here with Rocky Mountain School of Photography, and today I want to do a video that we have never done and I've always wanted to do it, and that is photography basics. So if you're getting started in photography and you are looking to really cover like square 1 to square 10, I'm going to start a series that walks you through most everything that you need to know to get started. So today we're going to talk about ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. This is not going to be a quick tips video. This is going to be a sit down, relax, maybe have a notebook and a little like cup of your favorite beverage sitting next to you. We're going to go through this step by step. I highly recommend that you watch these videos in order. I'm going to put out one, every month or so as we go from beginner to intermediate and finally to a more advanced basic photography stuff. So it's all going to be basic, but it's going to be really good. So let's go ahead and dive in. The fundamental thing I think that is so important to learn in photography is exposure. Exposure is the control of how bright or dark our images are. And I think one of the biggest things that beginners struggle with is consistency with their exposure. And a lot of you have probably experienced this, right? You're out there shooting and one picture looks perfect, the next picture is too dark or too bright, and you're just fumbling around and not having a consistently good exposure. Part of that is a lack of understanding on how exposure works. So exposure is controlled by three main factors, and each of those factors has a sub effect that also happens when you adjust it. And what I want to do in this video is break down those three factors and talk about the creative effect that they have as well as the technical effect. The first one I want to talk about is ISO. Now, ISO used to be called ASA back in the film days or back in the older film days. And ISO is essentially how sensitive your sensor is to light. There's a bunch of light flooding onto your sensor every time you take a picture, and the higher your ISO is, the more the sensor is going to count that light. So if you've got, 3 little pieces of light flying in and hitting your sensor, the higher your ISO, the more the sensor will say, oh, more than 3 bits of light just hit my sensor. So it's your sensor's sensitivity to light. Now, the higher your ISO goes, the more sensitive it is to light. The byproduct of ISO, though, is that the higher you raise your ISO, the more noise you're going to get in your images. And noise is like speckly bad stuff that mostly appears in the shadows of your photographs, but is really everywhere, and it just doesn't look good. And the reason that I say that is that as you get more sensitivity, it doesn't mean you always want to shoot at ISO 6400 because you're going to get a lot of noise at those ISOs. So higher your ISO, the brighter your images will be. Lower the ISO, the darker they will be, with the byproduct of the higher your ISO, the more noise you're going to end up with. The second element of exposure is shutter speed. Shutter speed controls how long the shutter is open for. So think of the shutter like a stage curtain at a performance. That curtain opens and closes for a set amount of time. The faster your shutter speed, the less light can come through that curtain in the given amount of time. As an example, a very fast shutter speed would be like 1/1000th of a second. That means that curtain opens and 1/1000th of a second later, it closes. A long shutter speed would be like something that I use for astrophotography, which would be 10 minutes or 20 minutes, where for 20 minutes that curtain is open and light is flooding down onto your sensor. To give you guys a little visual example of that, I've set my camera here to 1 second. So this is a 1 second shutter speed. I'm gonna go ahead and fire the camera. And you can see for 1 whole second, the shutter was open and the sensor was exposed to light. Now I'm gonna go a little bit faster. We're gonna go 1/30th of a second. So that's 1/30th of a second time. Now we're gonna go even faster. Let's go to 1/1000th of a second. You can see it's extremely fast. So that shutter is literally only open for 1/1000th of a second of duration. Now, obviously, the longer your shutter is open for, the more light you are going to let into your scene. So 1 second is going to let in more light than half a second, and so on and so forth. But shutter speed also gives us a creative effect. A lot of us have probably seen those shots of waterfalls with the water being all pillowy and beautiful falling down onto the rocks. That was motion blur caused by using a longer shutter speed. So if you're trying to blur things intentionally, you would want to use a slower shutter speed, a longer shutter speed, to allow for movement to happen during your shot. Now the problem here is if you go too slow, your own movement as a photographer, like your shake as a human being, starts to blur your photos. And I'm not talking good blur, I'm talking the whole photo is blurry. And I think this is probably one of the most common things I see beginners do when they're shooting manual on their camera, is they have too much shake in what they're doing. So my word of advice, my little thing to remember in your head forever, is to never use a shutter speed slower then 1/125th, that's 1/125, or 1/250th of a second. And that's enough to stop your own movement as a human being. What that means is if you shoot at 1/60th of a second, you are in danger of your own movements as a person blurring your entire photograph. So I would kind of keep that in your brain forever. Now that only accounts for your movement. If you're shooting a moving subject, like say a runner and they're running towards you, you need to go even faster than 1/250th of a second for account for your movement as a photographer as well as theirs. And this is something you want to experiment with. I think a lot of people are afraid of just running tests. Go outside, go where there are cars driving, and play with shutter speed. Just adjust your shutter speed one way, adjust it the other way, and see how that motion blur starts to take effect. Now, going back to the waterfall example I gave earlier, the way people get pillowy water but rocks being rock solid is they put their camera at 1 or 2 second shutter speed, and then they use a tripod to brace the camera during the duration of the exposure, so that the only thing moving is the water on the rocks. So, shutter speed, 2 controls, obviously the amount of light, and second, the amount of motion blur that you have in your frame. The third exposure piece is aperture, and aperture I think is the most important and also the most exciting creatively as a photographer. Aperture is the amount of light that your lens lets through to hit your sensor at the back of the camera. And the wider open your aperture is, the more light can flow through the lens. Aperture is measured with a kind of a cryptic numbering system. The lower the number, the more light will flow through your lens. So if you have a lens that's f2, f2.0, that lets in a crap ton of light. There's a lot of light that can flow through that lens and hit your sensor. It's really good when it's dark out and you don't have a lot of available light. On the other hand, you have f22 or f32 that's very, very small of an opening and it doesn't let in much light at all. Now you may say, why wouldn't I always use one of my wide open apertures? Well, the reason is that aperture also controls depth of field. And depth of field is a control that says how much in your photo is sharp from what you focus on. As an example, this camera right now is focused on my face or my chin. At the focus point's a little lower than I want it to be, but it's focused somewhere right here. We are using a very wide open aperture. We're using f2.0 on the camera right now. And that does 2 things. It lets in a lot of light, which is awesome. So we don't have much light in, actually we have quite a bit of light, but it lets in a lot of light, so that's awesome. And secondly, it blurs the background. You guys can see how beautiful the background is behind me. That's because I'm using a low number aperture. Lets in a lot of light and blurs the background for you. On the other hand of that would be f22 or f32. Very big number, which means a small opening, so not a lot of light can come through, but everything in the frame is sharp. That's what landscape photographers use a lot, is f22, f32, f16, something like that. It doesn't let in a lot of light, but it gets everything crisp from front to back, which is really cool. In fact, if you guys want to learn more about that, it's not really a basic concept, but we did a video on hyperfocal focusing not too long ago. If you're a landscape photographer and you want to learn how to get crispy detail from front to back, definitely check that video out up there. I've also put it down in the description. So aperture controls the amount of light that's allowed to hit your sensor, as well as the amount of depth of field you have in the frame, which is really cool. The problem is every lens has a different maximum aperture that it can open up to. As an example, this right here is an f1.4 lens. So think very low number. That means this lens is capable of letting in a lot of light. Now this lens can also go to f16 or f22, but lenses you really pay for that big opening. How much light can it let in? How shallow is the depth of field? So check this out. Here's the opening inside of this lens. Very big circle of light that it allows through. This thing can suck up light really, really well. On the other hand, this lens is I think 5.6, let me see, f3.5 to 5.6. So that's a little bit of a higher number, which means it can't let in as much light, which means it also does not give you as blurry of a background if you're doing it portraits or something like that. Now again, this can still stop down to f22 or f32, so landscape folks wouldn't really notice a difference between these. But for portrait people who want those blurry backgrounds, look at this. Look at the difference here. You can't shoot in nearly as low of a light situation with this lens as you can in this lens without making up for it in other ways. So aperture controls two things: the amount of light coming through the lens, as well as the amount of depth of field in the frame. The lower the number, the more light and the less depth of field you're going to have. Less depth of field meaning more blurry background. The higher the number, you're going to get more depth of field, more crispy from front to back, but not as much light. So now that we know the three elements of exposure, I want to talk a little bit about how these work together. Now this is going to be the main topic of our next video, is how do we play with these three settings to allow them to function, but I want to just get your brain working a little bit. The first thing I would recommend is setting your camera to manual mode so that you have full control of these three settings. Now, do beware that manual mode is not going to help you in any way. So don't set it to manual mode and then think you're going to go do some like amazing award-winning photography if you're brand new to this. I only want you to set it to manual mode to get used to playing with the controls on your camera. Once you get it on manual mode, I would open up your camera's manual, the instruction manual, and find out how to adjust these three things. How do you adjust aperture? How do you adjust shutter speed? And how do you adjust ISO? Quick little tidbit, aperture is also referred to as f-stop, and those are used interchangeably. So if you see that in your manual, it's going to mean the exact same thing. Now the way this works is this: if you allow more light in with one setting, you can allow less light in with another setting. To give you guys a quick example of that, let's say that you're shooting and you all of a sudden want to allow a little bit more light in with your aperture. So you want to say you want a shallower depth of field. So you're like, oh, well, my aperture is set to f2.8 and I want to put it at f2. Well, if you do that, you're letting in more light with the aperture, so we need to do one thing with either the shutter speed or the ISO. And our options are this: we could give ourselves, if we're letting more light in with the aperture, we could give ourselves a faster shutter speed, which would be, a quicker amount of time, which would give us less motion blur. Could be good or bad depending on the situation. Or we could lower our ISO if there's room to do that. And think about it, lowering your ISO gives you less noise, which would always be a good thing. So as you start to do this and you're in manual mode and you're spinning these dials, you'll start to see how, oh, this does this, and you'll start to understand it. Now, I will say one thing: as you start to get better with photography, you're gonna stop thinking. And that's one reason why in all of our in-person education programs, we front load the program with technical information, because we want students to get this stuff down super early so that once you understand the technical side of things, you can do the creative side and really focus on the image making, which for a lot of people is way more fun. So manual mode, play with it a little bit. One thing I will say is that all of these settings will be readable when you look through your viewfinder. So I always see people using the screen on the back of their camera or the screen on top of their camera to adjust these different things. You can do that, but every camera that's a DSLR or a mirrorless camera has the ability to see where all of these things are set while you look through the viewfinder. So I would always recommend doing that, because then you're ready to take a picture, and that's how you're actually going to be using your camera when you're shooting, not just playing around and practicing. So next video, we'll look at how to take these, how to put them together, a little bit more about what a meter is in a camera and how it helps you. Hope you guys liked this video. I know it's basic information, but hopefully you learned something. If you guys did like it, hit that like button. If you didn't, you know what to do. If you guys have a question, leave it in the comment section down below. Hit subscribe if you want to stay up to date for future videos. And lastly, special thanks to Canon for sponsoring this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one.